All right, ready to go?
Whenever you guys are.
Ready? Let me grab the tequila.
Okay.
This is great B-roll. I can grab the tequila. How about wine? You want some wine?
No, I'll get a headache with wine.
You sure you want tequila? It's the last shot. I can go get it.
Yeah, let's do half a shot.
Yeah, it's like this is your last.
Maybe get the LeBron endorsement going. Half, not a full one.
It's okay. Can you see this, man?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna start out like this. We're gonna ride. We're gonna be natural.
Yeah, if you know me, I'm not nervous. I'm excited.
Hey, this is gonna be episode 3 of Tell Your Truth, your daily dose here. But as we were talking, since it's episode 3, I know you can hear on the mic, but maybe we can. We're looking for sponsors. We're gonna get these ads. So Lobos Tequila, starting out with a little shot to LeBron. He did not send it to me. I do not know him, and I'm not getting paid for this ad.
Half, it's half. Just to shake out the nerves so I can speak my truth.
Yeah.
Just speaking truth.
Speaking truth.
Oh, tell your truth.
Speak your truth.
Tell your truth.
Turn my headphones up. Louder.
Don't react. Oh, that's nice.
Shut the Bron. Okay. Episode 3, Tell Your Truth, Daily Dose. The response has been great. Thank you for following. Thank you for subscribing and liking. How are we doing on the subscribers, Aaron? Have you checked?
I haven't checked recently.
Well, that's my camera guy for me, producer. Anyways, we'll get back to you guys on the response to that. Anyways, episode 3. This is the first guest ever of the show. This is my sister, older sister, second oldest sister. We have another one, Samina. Shout out to Samina. I love you. Halima Khan. Welcome, Halima.
Thank you. I'm excited to be the first guest.
Yeah, first guest.
What an honor.
First everything. So basically, a lot of you guys and girls know Halima at the gym, but a lot of you guys really don't know who she is. We were talking before this, and she actually had a great little intro, and I'm just going to kick it off of there. So here's Halima. She can tell you the rest of her story, her truth, and it's a truth that I think all ladies and gentlemen need to listen to, and it's something you guys will be inspired, admired, motivated, may cry a little bit. We're just going to let it all out. So, Halima, here we go.
I don't even remember what I said. The sister that no one really knows about. I hide from the camera. I stay away from anytime there's a microphone around, even though I want to, or I am a speaker.
Yep.
So here we are. And I'm all about full circle moments. So I guess, where do you want me to start? Childhood, how I got into fitness, how I ended up in Houston.
So we're gonna speak a little bit because she's in the fitness industry prior to me. Again, a lot of people don't realize that. I feel like sometimes women or trainers or clients come in and it's like, it's because she's a woman, I guess, and then she's my sister, so maybe she learned from me. But technically speaking, she was in the fitness industry before me, and she's very knowledgeable. So let's we'll go with your childhood first because. Okay. I'm gonna say it because it's my sister and I was a fat kid too. We were the low-key fat kids, and actually it's funny to laugh at now, but that has stemmed a lot of problems and health issues for her and I, more so her on some extremities. So I guess talk about the childhood of being whatever you want to call it, overweight or chubby, and then the insecurities this created and how that trickled affected into high school and your aspirations, and got to X Point, to Denver, to LA, Houston. So just those little. Well,
I want to commend you for actually acknowledging that there's roots to every issue, and I guess I never really thought that you took account to that. Yeah. But it is true. So we both were fat kids. I was a fat kid since the day I was born. I weighed almost 10 pounds from birth, and then have always had health, gut issues since I was a little kid. We'll make the long story of that part of childhood pretty short. Well, I don't even know if it can be short. I don't even know. I'm just talking right now.
Just keep rolling. We can edit whatever we want. But this is good. We started with the child because that's where it all started. So
yeah. So it's I don't know where to start in childhood.
All right. Go to somewhere where.
One of the first memories you're thinking of.
Yeah. I guess one of the first.
What do you think of?
One of the first memories I think of is just like Dose said. It stemmed a lot of insecurity, a lot of feeling like I had to prove myself, an identity issue, and I think that's why even now my biggest goal and aspiration is to help people know and understand who they are as a person, and reclaiming their own identities. So. I was also a middle child, so to say, and it's a real thing because I struggled with, do I want to be more like my sister? Do I want to be more like my brothers? And who am I trying to impress? Because I felt like my body wouldn't be what stood out for me. And never really understanding what the issue was. Like, yeah, we had poor lifestyle choices a little bit because we ate a lot of fast food, but at the same time, my mom prepared all of our meals for us, from breakfast to lunch to dinner. And so it wasn't even that. It was more of finding out now as that I'm in adulthood of probably what was the issue to begin with, which is my Hashimoto's and like some thyroid stuff. And I've always ran from that too, because now it's such a trend of like something's wrong with my thyroid and everybody wanting to get on medication. But I guess the earliest memory I have of me struggling with my body issues was when I was probably 12, around there. And I just remember always being on a diet, and the diet to me, not knowing what I know now, and especially what even like the youth knows now of my diet to me was just don't eat. Or skip meals. And I saw my mom doing it, or my mom taking diet pills, or my mom was always on a diet at the time. And so I felt like that was the thing to do. And I got bullied a lot for being a fat kid, even though I never really talked about it or came home with it. So then I remember sneaking diet pills wherever I could get them at an early age before there's a legality to even taking diet pills. And then giving away my food at school because I felt like people thought that if they saw me eating, they would make fun of how fat I was. So I think that's where like the stem of a lot of like issues of security came from. And then, probably sneaking diet pills at that age, and who knows how safe things were, because I think even ephedra was around then, and
that was when I think it was
hydroxycut got put off the market.
And that's when they were getting those CBS commercials on 48-hour weight loss drinks, right?
Yeah,
all that stuff.
Yeah, and it was like stuff that was killing people.
Yeah.
And now there were class action lawsuits down the road. So I think that it probably caused a lot of internal issues. So fast forward, I still got involved in sports because our parents always made sure we were active. And so I was still doing the sport thing, soccer, basketball, volleyball, whatever we could be active in. And then it got to junior high. And, I think most people know this, but I grew up Muslim. We grew up Muslim.
That's good. I mean, a lot of people don't know. So I would just keep telling it because people don't know, especially our new Congo followers. A lot of people don't know about the backdrop of the story. So that's okay.
Awesome.
You're doing a great job. That's good.
So yeah, we grew up Muslim, and we got involved in sports, and I think that's where everything took a bigger turn outside of body issues, because not only was I bullied for being a fat kid and for being a brown kid and for following a different faith, but it came down to sports, and we had to wear shorts and we had to wear a tank top, and my dad was not having that. Like, even if we wore sleeves that were like this short, he'd feel some type of way with the girls in the family. And so I didn't want to deal with it. So I ran from that and took a different route of being a pretty girl. Mm-hmm. And so Dose will joke a lot about me wearing BB was the thing back then, and sparkles and rhinestones. And
BB, and she always wore that, and she hated gym class, which is great because I've never even asked this. So you said that, talked about you made the transition to be more of a beauty type. Because she was beautiful too. We gotta get to some pictures of like when you're in your Doc Martens and your jeans.
Yep.
You have some, Halima has those. We'll send those to her. But you said you went to the beauty route. Was that because you hated fitness, or was that because more of the bullying and the insecurities of others?
Yeah, I think,
we played sports. You played soccer,
volleyball, basketball.
We were active, so I'm assuming, did you like it or you didn't like it, or was it the other stuff that
I legitimately loved it. I liked it. I think the biggest thing that I didn't like was when we had to run the mile.
Yeah.
Remember?
That was the worst.
Physical fitness test days.
That was the worst.
That was the only thing I didn't like. And now we're out here running miles and miles and running half marathons. But yeah, I did. I just didn't like to have to even explain myself of why I couldn't wear shorts. And then you have teams coming from other city or towns too, and it's like this girl who's wearing pants. She's the girl who wears pants. Leggings weren't a thing back then at all. So it was the windbreakers or whatever those pants are called that you wear, and then having to wear a short sleeve shirt under my jerseys.
Yep. See, man, I forgot all that.
I played with the boys. We did all that stuff. It was just like I guess I'm an extremist. Like, there's never really like an in between with me with anything I do. I can't just do something halfway. So it's like I'm just going to go all the way over here. And I think the other thing I forgot to talk about was when I had all my gallbladder issues too, because that was kind of in the midst of all that.
So what grade were you in? Because that's when you had to remove your gallbladder.
I was in junior high, so it's like 14. I was 14, and that's when everything started to transition because I was fat. This is part of the story, like fat. And we can probably show a picture of that. I'm not ashamed of it anymore.
This is a perfect time to take a picture, show a picture, because we're going to take Nina outside the house right now. Okay, Nina, come on. Nina, let's go. Go out. Let's go. You're out. Let's go. Go. Too much sleep. You had a chance. Okay. We're fat.
We're fat.
Fat with the gallbladder issue. Talk to me.
And it got to a point, I think I used to, this is what the power of our words, why it's so important, because I remember being like, God, I wish I didn't like food. And lo and behold, I somewhere along the way started like not being able to digest food, and I would get these attacks, and I would eat. We would always have family. We would always sit down. My mom did an incredible job of our whole family sitting down to have a meal together every evening, full course meal too.
Breakfast too.
Dessert was always included.
Yeah.
But I would be sick to my stomach, like sick, and I would have to go. I wouldn't even make it to the bathroom. So my family would watch me in our big old 40-gallon trash can because we were a family of 6. And I would just be vomiting. And it got to a point where I was just like, I would vomit, and then I would get sick to my stomach where I'd be keeled over on the ground. And like, I'd have to go to the emergency room because I couldn't take the pain anymore. And then they'd just give me Bentyl injections so I could tolerate the pain. And nobody could figure out what was going on. So I had to go to Colorado because I couldn't eat anymore. Like I would even eat a grape and my stomach would hurt. And so I lost a ton of weight because I just thought there was nothing I could eat that I would be able to keep down. Went to Colorado because we were in a small town and there weren't really like much of specialists. So saw a GI specialist. They did an endoscopy and found out my gallbladder was just destroyed. Like I was having gallbladder and liver issues at the age of 14. So they
jump in with that. You think, now that I know the story more of it, do you think those pills and the stuff that was going on when you were a kid now that you know the knowledge that you know about health and fitness, do you think that's what trickled the gallbladder issue, or is it more of a...
I think thinking about it, yes, I'm sure it made everything worse. But like I said, since I was a little kid, like baby from infancy, like I would eat fast food. I think that was just seed oils probably and soy, but I would eat fast food and I would throw up as a kid.
Okay.
Baby formulas, certain things like that. But I think that was me. That was a soy allergy too. I didn't know I had. But yeah, I would say so.
Okay.
Just lifestyle choices, not the binge eating and then the crash dieting and the starving and the back and forth and having to hide everything. So everything is stemmed in our gut. And so even now, like looking at it, it's like there's so many rooted things that are inside of us that just like our body holds on to things in different ways. So that's why people will have hip issues, leg issues, neck issues, because like spiritually, I believe in spiritually rooted things. And I think that's probably what I was holding on to.
And that means Ozempic is not the answer, ladies.
Yeah.
This is not an Ozempic ad sponsor. Next.
After I got my gallbladder removed, they had to put a stent in my stomach because I was trying to, in order to get dismissed from the hospital, I had to be able to eat food, solid food. And I wasn't able to do it. And so they put a stent in my stomach to open up my stomach so that I could digest food because it was like a slow gastric emptying. And that made me worse. While I was in the hospital, I got pancreatitis. Again, pancreatitis is something that happens in like alcoholics and people who are older and men who have been drinking for a long time. And this is a young girl who's never had a sip of alcohol in her life. Got pancreatitis, still in the hospital, unable to eat. So was fed IV. So IV intravenously was... it was like this white milky stuff. I just remember looking at that bag all the time when they came in. And so finally, I was just like, I'm sick of being here. I'd go back and forth to school. And what started to happen was that I had an eating disorder. And because I had lost a ton of weight. I remember like first leaving even the Sheridan Hospital and I had on jeans and I was like, oh, my pants, like my pants were huge because I just lost all this weight from not eating. And so I was like, I'm tired of all these rumors being made up. Like, people are now saying I'm going to get treatment. First, I'm getting bullied for being a fat kid. Now I'm getting bullied for losing too much weight. I wasn't getting bullied. It was more just talk at that time. Yeah. Before it was bully. And so I just was like, all right. It was like a turkey sandwich. And I was like, yeah, Daddy, I feel like my dad was there every step of the way. And I was like, Daddy, I feel better. And so the doctors, he's like, okay, well, we'll talk to the doctors, because they're like, we got to get you to start eating. And so I lied. I was like, all right, I feel good. So I went back home. They dismissed us. I went back home to Wyoming, and I started getting sick again, not being able to eat. Come to find out, he was working with the doctor at the time who had a Eastern medicine approach. And this was before gluten was an issue. This was before everything was a fad, because we didn't even know. My mom was preparing everything from scratch. So he's like, hey, let's try putting you on a gluten-free diet, and let's get you tested for celiac. Let's do all that. And so lo and behold, that was like the magic thing that happened. I felt good. I got rid of gluten. Like, it's crazy. In the hospital, they gave me a turkey sandwich, which was wheat bread and turkey and cheese.
I just thought about that.
So of course I was not eating, and it was like probably processed everything. So of course I was having, and our bodies are just smart. And I'm grateful now, because it's like that all of my rejection to food was being able to, preserve my longevity now and keep me youthful and keep me away from junk that I shouldn't have been eating to begin with. And that was it. So my mom did an incredible job of, like, we were in a small town on top of it not even being a thing in this country yet of not eating gluten. So she would make everything from scratch. I'd have like my homemade breads. I would have a separate meal from everyone. So it was always like the oddball, because it's like, well, Halima's got to have a separate meal. Yeah. Halima's got to have this. And everybody, like, it was never a bad thing. It was just like me in my own head of like, I don't want to have to be the different one. But we're just all unique. And so I'm fully embracing that now.
While she was doing that, I was having 2 double cheeseburgers, fry, chicken nuggets, a large Coke. Because this is when she was in high school, right? About that time, going into high school. So I'm still, that puts me at what grade?
You were in 6th, 7th grade?
I was prime eating good. So here she is with her special meals, and I'm eating that. But yeah, go ahead.
And I just like, like I said, I'm grateful for it now, because I didn't have to try to change my lifestyle as an adult. It's just something that carried on into adulthood, where it's like, this is what you're supposed to do. Like looking at different oils, looking at different preservatives, looking at gluten, what's inside of labels. And so I became a professional ingredient or label reader at an early age, and that segued into the future of where I kind of transitioned from there.
And that's crazy too, thinking about like how that was and how that everything is all about that. You got the carnivore diet, you got other doctors talking about this stuff, and you and all of us eventually were doing all the same stuff, and people were actually eating the way we were eating. We just didn't monetize it and make it a thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's great. They know this, that younger part of your story. So then I guess, where did the passion of fitness come? Did that come because of that? Did that come because of your weight problems? Did that come because you inspired like Rocky and seeing these things? Or did you have a burning desire of anger and hurt, which is why you poured yourself into fitness? So I guess where did the actual fitness journey start?
So it's interesting how life plays, right? We have these grand plans for ourselves, and I've always been a planner, and now I'm a person where I'm like, go with the flow. But since I was in the 5th grade, I was going to go to law school, and I knew where I was going, and I was on that route to do that. I was a very checklist mentality kind of person, and I mean, to this day too, if I commit to something, I'm going to see it through, whether I like it or not. And so I took that route as I wanted to be. I wanted to be a corporate person. I wanted to go to corporate law. I wanted to do all that stuff at an early age. I knew that. And that was like, and our culture too, it's like, it's especially with the girls, it's like somebody becomes a doctor, somebody becomes a lawyer, somebody becomes an accountant. It's just very cultural. It's very cultural. And I think anybody in our community can attest to that. And so my sister was on the route to become a doctor. And I think I was always chasing this, like, look at me, be proud of me too. And so I was headed to the route of like, I don't want to be like my sister because I need to be different. And so I decided to take the law route, and then I wanted to do corporate law. So I went to business school. I started out as a communications major because I thought that I wanted to do like a little bit of entertainment law at that time too. And And then I'm like, everything was too easy. Like, that's how school was too, though. Like, I've run from the fact that I'm a highly intelligent person too. And I'm just like, they wanted to skip grades when I was in elementary school. So then I just ended up helping the teachers. And then even in college, they forced me to take, or high school, they wanted me to take AP classes. And I was like, I just want to be with everybody else. And then in college, they literally took me out of classes that I was in and put me into like advanced classes because supposedly everything was too easy. So I switched majors.
Was this all at DU?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I went to University of Denver because I know that's a big question for everyone.
Pioneers. Shout out to Sabine again.
Yeah, that's big sister route. Okay, yeah. On that note too, I think there's a lot of like maybe subconscious towards my dad because I always find what can be the hardest thing to do. What's the hardest school to get into? So I was applying to like Ivy League schools because I believed, and I still believe that I can do anything that I set my mind to. And if I chase after it, it'll happen if it's meant to happen. And so I remember getting accepted to USC. I remember the packet. I remember the letter. I remember all of it. Having to take a SAT, which is way harder than an ACT in my mind. And my dad was like, no. Yeah. Like he was just like, he didn't know any concept of that because my parents never went to college. And so this is like first generation of us going to college on top of that. And I was like, I was so upset. And I was like, you don't get it, Daddy. Like, you don't get how hard it is to get into school. And he's like, you're not going to California. You need to be car drive away. And it was always like, whatever my sister did, I could do. So whatever she was allowed to do, I could do. But even like when it came to dating, my dad was like, you're not going to do that prom thing, are you? You're not going to do that it was homecoming. He didn't know what it all was, but he's like, you're not doing that, are you? And so I just wanted to impress my dad. And so I was like, whatever you say, Daddy, nope. So I never went to prom. I never went to homecoming. I never wore anybody else's jersey.
Yeah, it's I think what's crazy about all that is like back then that culturally that was still a thing. Like people, it wasn't like our family that you weren't allowed to do. Like I remember Samina, she had what are those called, Halima? On her dress, she had to cover her arms with the sleeve, so she had a beautiful dress. Yeah. But our dad wanted to have her still covered, so she still wore. I think Celine Dion. That's where she got the idea from, or somewhere.
Oh yeah, the glove things or whatever. At the time. Yeah.
So like, but back then, I just think you would not see that today, even with like super strict Muslim
conservative.
Parents, like, it's just crazy hearing it now and sitting back at it as your younger brother and 34. I'm like, that just sounds crazy. But at the time, that was normal, and I understood it. But it's like, being who I am now, I'm like, man, I wish you would have been able to chase that dream. I wish you would have been able to experience, because selfishly, I was able to. Now looking at it, I was able to go to California for my first stint in college with no issues. Yeah, go ahead and do your thing. And I drove 16 hours or whatever to get there. So I completely forgot.
Just like the male versus female. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think the generation now is definitely more fortunate in the sense of access. Parents are more forgiving to go do things like that, and aspirations to do things. That's great.
Samina set the tone, and I was able to still go to private school. Yeah. And then I was back to communications major. I switched that because it wasn't enough of a challenge for me, and I was like, this is not it. If this is the case, I'm gonna go do something else. And so I was like, what's the hardest major I can major in that all the girls aren't doing? And it happened to be finance. That's how I picked my major, because I was like, all the guys are doing this. There was me and two other girls in our class who were finance majors. And so, because in the business school, if you were a girl, you were in marketing. And so I took it as a challenge, and I was like, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to excel at it. And fast forward, I ended up in corporate America. I did eventually get to California. As soon as I graduated, I accepted. Actually, even before I graduated, I had a job offer in San Diego. It was either San Diego or Dallas, Texas. And I was like, I'm not going to Dallas. I'm not even going to tell anybody that I got a Dallas offer. And so I took the San Diego job. It was in accounting and finance, and it was in the hospitality industry. That's another thing is we grew up in hospitality and throughout college. So I had scholarships and I had family help, but I worked full time through college too. So I was a full time student and I worked full time in a managerial role. So I think I just am challenged by the fact that people tell me if something's impossible, I take it as a challenge, being like, oh, I'm going to do it. So people told me you can't work this many hours. You can't be a manager role at I was 20 something years old. You can't be at a young age doing this, leading all the older, like people who are older than you and working this many hours and then also still doing well at school. And I did it. But it just circles into pride. Like I didn't have to do all that stuff. So that was my college. And then that was post-collegiate, corporate stuff. And I hated it. I was in a cubicle and I was like, this can't be life right now. Fitness was happening throughout college. So I skipped that part actually. In high school, I was going to graduate early because I had enough credits and it was like time to move on with my life. I needed one more elective. And it had to be a PE elective. And the only thing that fit into my schedule was a sports-specific strength and conditioning class with Mr. Elliott. So of all the classes after I ran from sports, my whole youth, I was like, this is the class I'm going to have to take. So Mr. Elliott, if you're still listening to us, you actually had a big part in this. Yep. And I got in there with the athletes and I was learning and I was doing the stuff while still wearing my BB shirt. Yeah. And that's where it got launched. So I started running all the time. I went to college and I was like, their fitness facility at DU was phenomenal and it still is phenomenal, if not even better now. And was going before class, in the middle of the day, after class, wherever I could fit it in. I met a guy who saw me in the gym all the time and he was like, you're really fit. Like, and all I did was we were reading, you want to talk about Stallone. Remember that book? There was the book, I think I got it still. There's the Mario Lopez book, Knockout Fitness. And there was a Sylvester Stallone book. And I was learning how to exercise through, because there was no classes or anything at the time. I was learning how to exercise through that stuff and through, what magazine? It's not Men's Health. I think it was like Women's, it was like His and Her Fitness or Muscle and Fitness or something like that.
It was the women's version of the Muscle and Fitness.
Yeah.
It was Her Fitness or something like that.
I think that's what it was. I have to go back and find that now. Aaron, that's something for you. So I was looking through those magazines and that's how I learned. He talked to me and he's like, I think have you ever thought about bodybuilding? And I was like, no. And he was a former bodybuilder at the time. That's when Phil Heath went to DU. And he was playing basketball, and he got Phil Heath into bodybuilding. So I didn't know who any of these bodybuilders were. And he's like, we went down the Phil Heath route, and I was like, well, if you could get this guy to start in this world, maybe this is my route. And so I started training like I was going to actually bodybuild. And then we met another dear friend, Jill Barglami, who we got into, like, she saw me around the gym, and then Samina, big sister, circles back in, ended up doing like a body pump class, introducing me to Jill at the time. And Jill was like, this is like, you're awesome. You really need to stick with this. And that was my college fitness career. We'll come back to the Jill story in a moment. Go after college, corporate America stuff, hated it. But still did it. And I found myself thinking about going to the gym all the time. I was like, I just can't wait to go to the gym. I can't wait to go to the gym. And I'd hurry up and get out of work. And also I was in a cubicle because I talked to too many people and I was social. And I'd be like, I got to go to the bathroom and I'd be gone for 20 minutes because it was still in a hotel. I was a connector. I'm a people person. Little do I know. Because I also call myself an introvert. I was like, I got to do something about this. I can't. I'm miserable. Looking at computer screens and spreadsheets and making numbers fit. And
it's got me stressed out thinking about it. And it wasn't even my life.
I'm at a gym. The gym happened to be a boxing gym. And so I got into like kickboxing and all that stuff. Billy Blanks was the thing too. Yeah. I got into kickboxing.
Timbo, Billy Blanks, all that shit.
Yeah. And there was a guy at the gym He was like, I was doing more like the fitness classes, like the cycling and all that. And he's like, you're really into this. You show up. Because I would go before work and I would go after work. I would open the place and I would close the place. And he's like, you should think about getting a certification. And I was like, okay. So I got a certification in spinning. That was Mad Dog spinning, original, not what we see now. Even though I love you guys. Maggie. And that's where I started. So I was doing like side hustle stuff and I was doing group fitness and I loved it. Kept adding on more certifications, learning new things. And then I was just like, I'm going to find a way out of this. Circle back to Jill, as a college graduation gift, Allie and Jill gifted me with a distributorship to Advocare.
Yeah, this thing's taking me down a bunch of memory lanes. Okay,
and it's, I guess, I don't know if we could say names or not, but a health and wellness company.
Okay, go ahead.
So a health and wellness company, and it was direct sales, network marketing. And that's how I got into supplements and learning more about, diving more into nutrition and what supplements were all about. But not only supplements, it was more about like community and how to build networks of teams and build businesses. And that tied into me going to business school. And they're like, just for fun, like, we know you work a bajillion jobs and maybe this is one less job you have to work with. So that was they gifted me with a distributorship. I took that and I ran with it. And I was like, I'm going to build this thing. I'm going to build a business and I'm going to make money with fitness and I'm going to get out of this corporate stuff. And I remember calling my mom and dad when I finally had saved up some money and I was like, hey, I'm going to become a trainer.
Silence.
That's exactly how it sounded.
Fuck.
And my mother is the most endearing, sweetest woman. And she has always been like this her whole life. You could sense the disappointment, but she was like, if that's what you want to do, I love you. I'm going to support you. I don't think it's the best choice for you. But if that's what you want to do, like, you have my blessing. And my dad, he's like, you're not gonna be a lawyer. I remember that. I was like, no, Daddy. And so that was kind of the stint of that. I mean, he sort of disowned me, and here we are. Really, like, not even. It doesn't even matter at this point because he's off in his own world.
I think he was probably extremely disappointed, and frustrated, and irritated.
Because he was still,
He's like, why the fuck did he not do this? And I think it's a comparison thing.
Because it is culturally thing. Like my daughter is this, my daughter is that, my son is this.
I think what people need, when they hear this story, they need to realize, and I'm realizing, is how much pressure was on her and this goes back to speaking your truth and, pursuing your dreams. Like, so as humans and as how we're trying to figure out life and the process and the journey, as she was and as I was, she actually found the calling, which is so hard to find. So she found that pot of gold, and here she is. She's finally found it. And she's confident to speak it. But with that pot of gold, what happened? Just super negativity. So it's like once somebody's internally happy and pursuing something for themselves, they have to deal with the shift of negativity at the same time. So it's like you shouldn't be afraid to speak your truth, and that was exactly what you did in that moment. In that moment, obviously, I know it disappointed Daddy and maybe even us and others, because I think even me, because I felt like you were so smart, but I didn't care. But like, you're choosing fitness, and looking at it now, like you can make so much money in the fitness. Mm-hmm. But then it's scary because you have that security blanket of what money you're making,
salary.
You're getting a salary. You're getting paid.
There's a launching pad to grow.
Yep, the whole nine to go places, and here you are. You found something that in your heart makes you happy, and you're going to say, to hell with it, I don't want to do it anymore. And all the years and time. So I'm glad you're saying this, because it's never too late to go. You did it on so many levels. So go after your dreams. If it makes you happy, that's all that matters. And in the end, like she said, look at where we're at now. I'm here. We have a gym together. It's a family-owned business. And we're rocking and rolling. So that's that side of it. I think that was great. I think going into, so we just finished off with the parents and making the pursuit of fitness. So I guess just keep going and go more with the fitness side.
Even I guess just like to tap into what you just said, the people who love you, they want the best for you. And when you get shot down by the people who you believe would have your back the most, the right people will always have your back. They will always, and by have your back means like, it's not necessarily in that instant, but they're always going to be there to support you and pick you up when you fall. And so I'm grateful for that. And just to piggyback off of what you just said. And I believe that also, if you have a dream and you want something, you put your heart into something and you go after it, it takes you to believe in yourself, number one, but then there's this concept now in today's society where it's like, it's all about you. Like, it's all me, but it takes your own belief in one other person to believe in you. And at that time I had Christy McGuy. And at that time, like, it's just one person to say, okay, we're gonna lock arms and we're gonna ride this thing out and we're gonna see it to the end. And if I look at every single thing that I've done in my life, all it's been is one person. The bodybuilding, it took one person to say something. The nutrition stuff, one thing to say something. You know, all these other things that I've done in my life, it's always been one person to say, all right, let's go, let's ride. So number one, you have to believe in yourself. Number two, find one person to lock arms with and ride that wave with, whether it sinks, whether it floats, whether it gets to the shoreline somewhere else. So yeah, that's my transition into the fitness world. I
want to jump in. I wanted people to understand, what year was that?
2000 and I graduated in 2008, so 2010 maybe.
Okay, so like still being a brown woman.
Yeah.
Pursuing fitness and strength training in order to make money was not a thing. Like the accessibility and all these people that are out there now. So she's making that transition into doing that is pretty crazy if you just take yourself to that moment. Because we get so caught up in Instagram now, the accessibility.
Yeah.
We had no accessibility then. You had to literally network. So I guess now that they know that where your fitness journey came from, your fitness journey started, I guess explain the how do I want to say it? The struggles in Denver and making that transition after letting everybody know, hey, I'm not doing this school route anymore. I'm going to become a fitness trainer.
Yeah.
And your resources and how you got to that climb of the ladder.
Absolutely. So I guess just like you said too, and I don't think about it often because I never like to play that role of like, I'm a woman and I'm this and I'm that, but women in the fitness industry were far and few between at that time. And so I never saw it as a challenge until down the road when I had to transition back to being in Colorado. So financially, it's hard when you're trying to make that transition and you're not making the kind of money. I was making pretty good money fresh out of college, by the grace of God. And California's cost of living is obviously expensive, and I was getting paid well too. At that time when you're making $50 to $100 an hour as a 20-something-year-old kid, you're like, man, this is where I'm going. But also it's back to your first podcast, right? Where it was like, you didn't know I-9, W-2. I'm like, what's happening? My taxes aren't getting taken out. Hold on, I got to pay this now. I knew all that stuff too, but it's like when you're making the money and like nothing's getting taken out, you're like, man, I'm doing good. Eventually it hits you, it catches up with you. So pay your taxes. And I had to make the transition. Well, my grandmother was really sick and she kept saying, come back home. And, there was just like life stuff happening. And so long story short, I ended up back in Colorado, and which wasn't home. Wyoming was home, but I ended up back in Colorado. My grandmother passed away a couple months later, and I was like, man. And then she had businesses. So I was just kind of needed for all of that. I was supposed to be where I was supposed to be. And I think that that's how it always ends up playing out. But I didn't have a name for myself. I didn't have a name for myself in the fitness world. Nobody knew who I was. I didn't have my network of people. And for those of you who are in the fitness industry, you know that when you start out, you have to build a network. And it went back to, you have to intern. And so I've been in this industry working with people, making money, and I get told wherever I go or try to apply that I need to be an intern. And so I was like, that's what I'm going to do. And, I was like, if I'm an intern, I'm an intern with some of the best people. So I was like, who's the best person that I can do an internship with? So I looked at sports teams. I looked at, different things like that sort. And at the time, plug into your first podcast, Steve Hess had a gym.
Kaboom!
So Steve Hess was the strength and conditioning coach for the Nuggets. And I was like, this is where I'm going to go. And they weren't even looking for anybody, but I was just like, I just showed up. I literally showed up, and I was like, hey, this is me. I introduced myself, and they're like, we don't have anything for you, and but we can get you. You can teach a spin class. And so I taught my spin class. I ran into Steve, told him I wanted to do the internship. I was willing to do it. Whatever. Long story short, he helped me get in there. And I was interning as a 20-something-year-old person who had been in the fitness industry for a couple years, not making any money. Like internship was not paid. Mm-hmm. It was not paid. And then there were other places at the same time that I was still trying to make money at, and they were the same thing. Well, if you want to work with us, you have to be an intern. So I'm in this phase of like being back home to try to make and save money, but I'm also not making money. And then finally there was a place, a box gym, Mountainside Fitness, who I was doing like an internship with, and there was one client who wanted to train at 4:30 in the morning, and nobody wanted to take her. And so it was a 30-minute session, 20 minutes out and away from the city, and I was like, okay, I'll take her. It was $10 an hour because of the split. So I'm getting up at whatever time. And that's always been a thing. Like I've always woken up at 3:30, 4 o'clock and done that. But it was just like, man, I'm making $10 an hour and I'm going to spend the rest of my day here just waiting to fold towels, to clean up, to wipe down equipment, to just make myself seen. And that's what happened. And it kind of grew from there, because as soon as you get somebody and you show your product and you deliver on that, then things start to move forward. And there's a lot more involved in that, but we'll keep that. I think to tie into that with like kind of the sports teams and all of that, I had a very traumatic experience that happened when I was in college. And it stemmed into kind of circling into the gut issues, how I am the way I am. And I guess where I believe that I couldn't ask people for help. And so we can pause for a second.
It's all right. It's all right. Do your thing. Take a sip. We got water over there?
Yeah.
You're doing great, though, with the stories.
Yeah, this is awesome.
It's good.
I'm kind of going backwards now.
No, that's okay.
No, that was great.
I'll always steer you in the right direction. I'll know where you're going.
Okay. All right.
You're doing good. You're not... we're probably like at 35 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah,
and we're going to cut a bunch of stuff, hopefully.
Yeah.
That's why I was just like, I'm just going to talk and he'll cut it.
No, we'll flow.
Okay, I'm back. All right. So traumatic experience, college, which stemmed into a lot of why I am who I am. And I think I guess another takeaway from this conversation is we talked about belief, but it also is about responsibility and me feeling like I had to do everything on my own and I couldn't ask people for help. And basically it all falls on me kind of attitude. And I've never been one to play like the blame game, to be a victim. And so even like with what happened, I was just like, I was in the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong people doing the wrong things. And so this is on me. And, it led into toxic relationships which also made me believe that everything was all me. Everything is my fault. And so it's been the reason I am the way I am is because I need to see things through to the end, because I don't want to count on anybody else. I guess now I'm like fast forward. I've realized we'll come to the 2020 situation. But it was just like constantly proving, finding my worthiness, proving. And all along, it's like this battle I'm having in my own head. It's not anybody going against me in any way. It was just more of my own thought of like, you can't blame anyone for your life choices, because these are choices that you've made. And like, we're in fitness. I made the choice to take that route. And so now you're going to see it through to the end, whether you like it or not, because you've had plenty of people doubt you. You're letting your parents down. You're letting your family down. You're letting everybody else down. So 15 years later, I saw it through. And I think it's incredible how our life choices and how life plays out is exactly how it's supposed to be. Yeah. And so, you know, with what had happened when I was in college, I was like, I'm not going to be around athletes. I want nothing to do with sports. Come back to the sports things again. I want nothing to do with the social world. I want like no drinking, no partying, no going out. It was just like, you focus on your career and you do that. But here I am, going to Steve Hess and being like, okay, well, I'm ready to learn from you in strength and conditioning. And so it took a lot of courage to face. And I think every single day when I show up, it takes a lot of courage to find ways to be like, okay, I'm in front of this and I'm battling this. And my best outlet was fitness. So I guess that's why it stuck and stayed so long.
So why, when you guys are all not questioning, but like, why is he always on that damn Versa climber? Why is she always doing this? It's cool that they can see the side that I know of you, of what really pushes you and drives you till this day and how you operate the way you do. So it's good. The sacrifice, I think being able to push through everything you've pushed through and knowing that you talked about your faith and belief and being at the right place, being at the place with a certain part of your time, like that's why you're there. And you were able to still help people while you were in such a shitty situation, still helping people, and you did stick it through. And because you stuck it through, like that's the journey of life. You fought through the thickness. So many people would have gave up. You could have, God forbid, taken your life. You could have turned to other ways. You could have went against your family and did something completely different, but you chose to keep your head down, stay forward, and focus on this fitness journey, which I admire. And it's cool to talk to you like this because we don't get to talk like this. Like we love each other, and we will have each other's back no matter what, not question it. But like, this is my first time hearing some of these things to more of an extent. I just know a little bit. I know what kind of happened in her life, but hearing more of the details, it actually helps me understand her better. And I think it's great to see vulnerability. I think it's great to see inspiration and just transitioning in that, being able to push through what you were doing with the fitness journey, I guess, going along as you made your way through Steve Hess, and then eventually you end up correct me if I'm wrong, you're working in Denver, Steve, and then some boot camp stuff, and then you made your way to LA. So I guess get into that journey, what got you to LA.
I actually was a nanny too for a while in between, because I was like, I got to find a way to make money while I'm doing all this. And so through that, obviously I ended up being a nanny because
let them know
because of where I was, right? If I hadn't gone to Steve's gym at the time, then I wouldn't have met who I met to get me to what I was doing. And that, like, it was the best, like, it was the most incredible, like, gift I could have had. And also the relationships that were built there. So, the girls that I helped, like, be a part of their life, and like to see that and, know that, like, we're called and assigned to certain people at certain times in our life. And so same thing. I was like, if I'm going to give this everything I'm going to get, everything I have into something, everything. I was talking to a friend the other day and I was like, I don't know why I just can't, like, because he was like, why don't you just like hit the mitts and box? And I was like, I just can't. I have to go all the way. Like running, I can't just go for a run. I got to go all the way. And it's like push and push and push and push until you can't like push anymore. And I just like, I get broken. But maybe at some point in my life, I'll do something for fun. I don't know, but I just don't see that way. Like, it's not like I can just go do 200 feet on the Versa climber. I have to go do 2,000 feet. I can't just go back and run a mile. It's like, I got to go run 3 to 10 miles. I
think that's what high level performers are. I don't think that's a you problem. I think if you look at guys like Kobe, rest in peace, Tom Brady, LeBron, Ronaldo, all these greats, they have that same motor and that same trigger of I'm going to do something, I'm going to be the best at it. And I firmly believe you haven't tapped into your greatness yet. And I think that's going to eventually get to your great. I know you're like, fuck, I'm at 30 X amount of year old. I've been doing this. Why haven't I reached that pinnacle of success? But those high level performers have that. And I think you're going to get there as long as you keep that, that laser-like focus.
I agree. And I, like Dos always jokes with me and he's like, yeah, you're such wasted potential. And it sticks in my head because he's so right. Like, you're absolutely right. Like, absolutely right that I haven't tapped into my full, because there's so much in me. And if everything I've ever wanted to do in my life, I believe I can do it. And I've set out to do it. Like, I've done so many things in my life, like from nutrition to real estate, to living in another country, to living in different cities, like I've been everywhere. And it's just because I'm like, this is what I can do. And this is what I want to do.
Languages?
I speak 3 languages. I'm going to start learning Hebrew now because I've like been reading the Bible and I'm like, some of this stuff just doesn't translate. So now I need to learn why it doesn't translate. So in order for me to learn the proper translation, I got to learn Hebrew to like, it's the same thing. It's just not, it's so, yeah, I speak multiple languages because I just think that it's important and because I want to do it. And so that just goes to say, if there's something you want to do, you just go and you just do it. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter what age you are, what gender, what race, what anything. Like, you find the resources and you put your heart into that thing and you go for it. So yeah, I don't even know where we ended up. We were talking about Steve Hess. I was talking about Nanny.
So now you made your way. How'd you make your way to LA?
Made my way to LA. Well, I got into sports nutrition. And so that's where like the whole, it's a supplement thing is pretty cool too, because you were working with your guys and you were plugging me into people being like, help this person. Hey, help this person. You've helped this. Like, so it's like you had trust in me then too, to be like, not only like NFL players, but just like typical people. And like Nando was one of the biggest ones. Right. And so seeing that transformation in him so dramatically, like helping people lose weight is no big deal, but to see something transform that much, but because you were plugging me into people like from a sports perspective or like college athletes, I was like, man, I can do something with this, with the nutrition. And I was like, that's maybe my way into sports. And so I started doing sports nutrition with a couple MLB players. And I was like, I don't even know how I'm going to do this. I got my certification, but how do I apply this? How do I learn this? And three athletes made it to the all-star team. And I was like, wow, there's really something in this nutrition thing. Like, it's
the Rockies, correct? When you remember, or is this
Rockies, Cubs, and somebody who got traded to a different team. So it's cool to see, like, if you just apply your knowledge and believe in what you're doing. Like, also, I was like, I hope this is working. Like, I really hope what I'm putting in their body makes a difference. And
happens.
And then at the end, you look back and you're like, man, okay. Obviously, it's the training that they were doing and everything else in between, but what you put into your body matters. And, this is why we told the story of when I was 14, what was happening, because it translated into me getting a sports nutrition certificate and degree. And the supplement thing is cool because it's like, here we are now of me being like, hey, mom and dad, I'm going to sell some supplements and pushing pills and powders on my family. And we're out here about to do this ourselves. And so I remember you'd come over to my apartment. Remember when you're like, when you're ready to drive an hour and 40 minutes, but opening the cabinet and you're like, man, can I take this? Can I take this? Can I have this? And I put you on the Sparta program, and that's what changed everything.
Sparta,
like
the way the bodies looked in Sparta, and then I Am Legend. I don't think I said that last time. That's what like really triggered me to get that fuel and fire. And that was when you were in La Jolla, right?
Yeah.
Because you were in La Jolla, and then how did you get to OrangeTheory life?
Okay, so OrangeTheory.
It's okay. The white man, Freddie. You went from La Jolla. You had some personal issues, life issues again.
Life stuff happened. I ended up in Arizona for spring training one year, and I was working with a player there. And then I was also in a very bad situation, but I also can't discredit where I was at the same time because it's life choice. And we'll keep that simple. I had to get out. And so I had contacted a friend that I hadn't been in contact with for a while. And she's like, it's crazy. I was just thinking of you. Can I be praying for you? And I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to probably either die here soon or I need to leave. And I left with whatever fit in my car. And she's like, come to it was San Diego at the time. She's like, come here, like whatever's in your car, get in your car and come. And so that's what I did. I got in the car and I came. I had no plan. I had nothing. And I just worked on me. Like it was more self-development. How do I become a better person? How do I not get back into these situations? How do I, and so for a couple months, I couldn't find a job. And this is how God works. Like I'm a highly qualified individual. Like I could go any route. I have multiple degrees, multiple certifications, all of that. And it was like, nope. And then finally I walked into, because OrangeTheory was a huge thing then. I think it's like doing whatever now, but I'm like, I didn't know what it was. And I thought it was a place that I could train people. And so I walked in and I was like, hey, are you guys looking for trainers? That's how it's always been with me is I just walk into places and if I want something, I feel like you can ask. And they were like, no, but you should take a class. Like, we're not really looking for anyone, but come check us out. And I was like, well, I don't want to take a class. I just want to be a trainer. And so she's like, no, check it out. And so I did the workout and she's like, so what do you think? Like, do you think this is something you're interested in? And I was like, yeah, I guess I could be a coach. I had no idea of like what that was. And so coincidentally, the owner of that, because the owner of the franchise in San Diego was there at the time, and he like was awesome. And they're like, just come do an audition. And so I did an audition and I got on the microphone and they loved my voice on the microphone, but it was all scripted. And I struggled with the script. And in order for you to get on board with them, you had to follow the script. And I was like, I can't, no. And so I practiced that script, and I was just like, I went to the owner and the regional managers and I was like, you guys, I'm not going to follow a script. Yeah. And they're like, just do it one time. Whatever comes out of your mouth, let it come out. And I nailed it. Like after practicing and never getting, they were all there. Everybody was watching and I just nailed it. And they're like, can we put you on the roster? Like, can we get you on the team? And so that's how I ended up at OrangeTheory. I eventually grew into that role, being the best, and I'm not ashamed to admit it anymore. I was the best coach in the region and probably one of the best coaches in the nation. And people would come from other places to be like, I heard of you, I want to take your class. My classes ended up being, they gave me like, this is how it starts in the fitness world, right? It was like, build yourself. We're going to give you the worst times. We're going to give you whatever. And you're going to start with 3 people because you had to have 3 people to run a class minimum. I built that up to what we ended up running 3 groups. So it was like 40 to 45 people a class where I was waitlisted for people to come into my classes. And then I started working my way towards better times. And then I was like, okay, well, it's time for me to grow. I'm ready to be a head coach. I'm ready to be promoted. And they're like, nope, we feel like you're not committed because I was still training at other places, running my own thing. So I was like, well, if that's not going to happen. There was another guy, he was Brendan Iambadejo. I followed him through football actually. And he had owned a bunch of OrangeTheories in LA. And so I had reached out and I was like, hey, I want an opportunity to grow. I want to become a head coach. I want to become an area manager. I want to grow on this, not just be a coach. And so he's like, come on out if you're willing to come out here and let me see you work out. So that's the biggest thing in that world is they want to see how you work. And showed out, did my thing. And he's like, okay, well, like, come on out. We'll audition you. So here I am, the whole thing all over again, having to audition, having to prove myself. And I'm like, okay, fine, I got this. I was confident in it. And then there's the riff of like, the senior people being like, who is this girl coming in thinking she can do whatever? And so I got the job, but they put me in West Hollywood and it was like a studio at the time that was failing. So it was the worst studio I could have been in. And they're like, I remember Brendan being like, yeah, we're going to put you there. So just, we got you. Just take the bull by the horns and make it shine and then run with it. And I was like, what does the bull by the horns mean? So because I wasn't making money, because you get paid based off of the number of people who are coming, I was still going to San Diego back and forth. So I was leaving at 3:00 in the morning to go to San Diego for the weekend to be able to coach there, coach Friday, to be able to coach Saturday morning in LA and make it to San Diego, coach the classes there, and then still come back to LA after the weekend and get back to work. So I was driving back and forth no matter what hour it was. And I remember just like, 2:00 in the morning on that road because there was no traffic. And it was just like, I'm like screaming out my window so I could stay awake so I could make it to class the next day. Because I was like, I know I can take the studio where it needs to go. And so that's what happened. And that studio became a great studio, and then they started to see my potential. So I got promoted to head coach and then created different roles within that company. And then once those roles got created, I never got promoted. And, I was creating titles and all of that sort, whatever. We can probably cut this stuff too, because I don't know if people want to hear all that. And I was never getting the promotions for the jobs that I created.
Okay.
And COVID happens.
Okay, so before we get to COVID, I want everybody to hear the story so far, even yourself. In every bad circumstance that happened to you, one of the biggest blessings on the other side of it. You mentioned you had to get yourself out of a situation, and then here you are with this OrangeTheory situation, and then that turned into something, and even the situation before with Denver turned into something. So the story of pain and bad stuff, like even the stuff I preach about, not just your story, on the other side of that is something good. So as you can tell, she's building her career, she's doing her thing. OrangeTheory, she's killing it, she's thriving, she's killing it. And then guess what? Another bad thing happens. COVID happens. I guess what I want the audience to know during COVID, I think at this point in time, you were probably the happiest you were.
Yeah.
And I know in your life, because you finally found something you were great at, you were excelling at, people gravitated towards you and it was your thing, even though it wasn't your name. And as people know with COVID, Houston wasn't a thing. COVID didn't exist here. LA was very bad, and she had to make the transition of getting out because they shut them down, correct? Mm-hmm. You guys were to be shut down. So
everything in that whole city was shut down, so even the sidewalks.
She's on cloud nine. Something bad happens, and fucking a pandemic happens. And I'll intro into it, and then we can get to Congo. So bad happens. You can talk about getting shut down, and then you were training people on the rooftop like us, and that what caused you to come to Congo finally and being like, fuck, I can't do it LA anymore because of what?
So yeah, just like Joe said, I was at the highlight of everything. So it wasn't all bad, right? I was making good money. I was living in the place I wanted to live, city-wise, apartment-wise. First time I was there, I was in Inglewood. Yeah. So Dose never told me he didn't like my spot until afterwards. He's like, I'm really glad you got out of there. But yeah, so car, all that, the whole material thing, right? Where you're like, I'm doing this thing and this is happening, friends, all that. Pandemic happens, we get shut down. So I go from making all of this to nothing. So I was like, I got to do something. Unemployment does not pay anything if you're making money. So people who were living off of unemployment, great. I'm happy for you. I wasn't even able to pay rent with it. So I tried to train people on the rooftop. Like, these guys are doing it, I'm gonna do it. Still wasn't cutting it. And I was holding on. I was really holding on because I just believed it was gonna open back up, because they kept saying, just come out here. My mom's like, come out to Wyoming. Because when he says shut down, it was shut down. Like, you couldn't go to parks, you couldn't go on trails. I would sneak into trails to run and hike, and I willing to get arrested. I would you get warned on the sidewalk if you were not wearing a mask. Police were policing the sidewalk. And so they're like, come on, find some freedom. And I'm like, no, this is gonna happen. And plus I was I thought I met the love of my life at the time, and I was like, I'm not leaving him. We're gonna see this through. And I finally got to a point where Dos was like, okay, just come train a couple people. Just come hang out, train, just do what you can do, make a little bit of money, you can go back. He probably had a master plan the whole time. So I bless him and Priscilla. They let me stay in their house, and that was a transition of everything. I came with a suitcase, and just my fitness clothes really. And it was like, okay, well, we're gonna train people. And he trusted me with everybody, like full trust. It wasn't a matter of like, I don't know if you can get this person, no matter who it was. All right, you got this. I'm gonna go over here. So hopefully it opened up avenues for you to go do more house calls and stuff.
It's a couple things. I think what you said you didn't know if I had a master plan. I'll be honest. It is the brother in me of me wanting to help, and I knew you were in trouble. And I was like, shit, we did it with Sathaj, and Sathaj is doing his thing. And I took it as my duty to be like, you can't help because there's times that I'm missing and I could use you. I just didn't know anything about business and how we could make it work. But I knew Priscilla and I could have you stay at our home, save money, train clients, figure that out. And I took it upon myself to be like, okay, I got to get more people. I was like, this is my responsibility now. So then you started gravitating towards clients, and it started working out, right?
Yeah. And then we were opening, the gym was still under construction. So, and then like there was times when Taj needed help on his rooftop. So he's like, hey, can you get this group? I think it created a little bit more freedom for you guys, even though it was like you had to let your own things go too. And I was kind of going back and forth to LA for whatever reason, because I still had my place there. But yeah, it came to a point where it was like, well, I need my car and I need my stuff. And so I just like, I can't make rent there. And this is what we're going to do. So I don't know how that transition worked. I found a place to live. I did find a place to live. And Taj used to joke, and he was like, this is Halima's bougie place where she's going to live. And I ended up living there. And so I was like, yeah, it's time to move. And that was 2021. And I just was like, I'm out. I gave up on everything. I tried to go back in. I remember a summer LA opened back up. That's what it was. They opened back up and I was like, oh, it's okay. It's time to go. So we had to learn all of these new protocols. It was a whole different everything.
Yeah, and just to interrupt there too, like her coming to Houston wasn't that she's officially Congo. It was, let's just see what happens. You're going to stay here, save some money, and let's see if it can work. And that's why you were going back to California, because I felt like it was still her dream to do that, but we were like, Taj and I were like, whatever makes sense for you. So we still supported you. It was like, so I think you started to figure that out. So yeah, go figure that. Yeah.
So I've eventually finally made my move here, and then we opened the gym. We'll keep it simple. And I'm grateful I was able to help with that entire transition and that process, and us trying to navigate through how we operate as a family and a business, and meeting more people, and then learning that also this is the crazy part about different coasts, where I had my own struggles, right? So we come back to the beginning of the story, identity issues, body dysmorphic issues, never being good enough, or having to constantly prove myself, being a woman. And in LA, the thing was like, it's so different out here, because out here it's like you need to have a certain amount of muscle, you need to be a certain thickness, you have to have an ass, like it's all these things. And it's like I was never enough for like a lot of the women out here. And then it's like, so I'm like trying to gain weight, and then I'm at the same time it's like I'm hearing that I'm fat, or that I can't believe I work out this much, and I look like I look, or I don't look like I look, or I look like everybody putting beliefs on me that I should look a certain way and appear a certain way because of what I'm able to do. And that took a toll, not only because I was struggling with my own stuff mentally, right, financially, what was going on, emotionally, me losing
to a whole new life. You left your job, you left where you love.
I'm living out of a suitcase in my brother's room with Nina. Shout out to Nina. She wasn't allowed in here because she was looking at everyone, but she was the one by my side too. And so it's just like this weird, uncomfortable phase of what's happening with my life. And I'm in my 30s, and this is where I am. This is where I'm at. Yeah. And so I just started to take this, like, what happens in those seasons is we can control. And so for me, it was like taking my exercise to an extreme, or like eventually I got to a point where I was taking my eating to an extreme because I felt like I was too big, or like it led into like all these issues that resurfaced again within my gut, because I was either binge eating, or I was starving myself, or I was making myself puke, because if I wasn't naturally puking, like it got to a point where like in my head, and I'm like Diane, my doctor now would say, like, she's the one who taught me that a lot of this is mental and how to control, like, my puking situation, because I could literally think that I ate too much and I don't feel good because I ate something that I wasn't supposed to eat, or it was an ingredient in it. And so I'm like, in my head, I'm like, okay, I got to get this out of my body. Get this out of my body. And so I could literally just like go over there and just puke. I wouldn't even have to like force myself in any way. It's mental, the power of our mind. So it's like 30 years later, it's all coming back. Until I finally, I don't know what it was that just like was like, I can't please everyone. I'm not gonna have the body that everybody else wants from me, but I'm gonna have a body that's gonna make me comfortable in my own skin. And that's when I started to get it. I think you got me into my first half marathon, so I found like that, and then I got hurt. It's like you do all these things, you get there and you fall back. So I broke my foot, and then I still ran that race, and then we'll skip a bunch of steps, but got into boxing, and like I found my own identity through, I think, a lot of that too, because that's in the last years where I've had the most peace, the most clarity in who I am and what I want for my life and where I stand. And it's never been a question of what I want for my life. Like, I know what I want for my life. It's just, how am I going to get there? And how do I pursue this fire in me that I don't even know? Like you said, that like I haven't even tapped into my full potential. It's like this burning fire, and I don't know what it is, but it's got to come out. And boxing has been the outlet to that. And it was really because I was gone. You guys filmed this thing, and I'm like, what are these guys doing?
You missed the first day.
Like, and I felt left out. I'm like, yeah, like I've been left out a long time because I chose my own path, right? So I'm like doing my thing, living my world, but I'm like, how are they going to do this? And how is Dostok going to ask me? Like, he got me involved in the Versa climber, he got me involved in the runs, he's got me involved in the weight training. Like, I all the stuff I know about, I want to be with the boys. And so I've always wanted to be one of the boys, even the cars. Like, I had a Honda Accord with rims and
18.
And so then I was like bitter, and I was like, fine, I'm just not going to say anything. And he could see it in my eyes, because he's always like, okay, middle child, I know you want to do this, you can come join us. And so I threw my first jab, and Sobo was like, hey, you want to fight? I was like, yeah. And he's like, no, I'm serious. And so back to the can't do anything for funsies. So I was like, I'm going to do this. And I told Dos, I was like, hey, I'm going to fight. And he goes, Halima, okay, I don't want to see you get punched in the face, but if that's what you want to do, we'll see. We'll see if this sticks. And we're almost a year into it. But I bring the boxing thing up because this is where it comes full circle. It comes full circle into reclaiming my identity, which I had been fighting for year after year, especially in the transition of coming to Houston. Knowing that I'm not in competition with anyone but myself, and fighting my own demons and my own battles. And that's an outlet for me to do that. When we talk about like traumatic instances that happen, and knowing that like it's all on me, I've found, the sport chose me, that I'm now in a place where when I go and step in that ring, all is going to be is me. But at the same time, or I should say, and at the same time, we talked about belief. Now it takes one person to believe in you. And so you wouldn't have introduced it to me if you didn't believe in me, but like I have my coach who's believing in me to see this through. So it's like, and me saying you need to lock arms with that one person who believes in you. So I'm in the ring. This is where I see myself. I'm in the ring. All these things that have happened in my life is what's fueling me. But it's like, okay, it's all on you, because you're the only person who can go in there and fight for yourself. And this is a life analogy as well. And you have the people who believe in you on your side in the corner. Yeah. And you can hear them, you could take direction for them, but they're not going to fight your battle for you. And so it's just been the biggest blessing of my life. And here we are. And I truly, like, I've been having visions of this, and it's crazy because it's like, once again, it's this unheard of thing. Somebody brown girl, who's fighting, who is almost 40 years old. I'm not 40, but I'm getting up there in age. And it's like all of these things that are against me. And I still believe I'm going to see it through. And I'm going to see it through. But it's not just like, let me get in the ring and fight. Like we talk about legacy and family. So I want to be able to in the future be like, have my child be like, yeah, my mom got in that ring and she did her thing. And have them look up to that. But also like, I see it creating avenues for so much more. And that's where I've been having visions of like, how it's going to connect and who it's going to connect to and what it's going to do for what it's going to do for us and our family and our legacy and what I have for future generations. And so thank you for believing in me from no matter what it is that I want to do. And I know I go out and set out to do everything that I want to do. And it's just like, here goes Halima again. And that's why nobody knows anything about me, because I'm always on some type of adventure.
Yep, I think the best thing to close it out with is, you talked about the ring. What did you say, the ring?
You're the only person who can fight your fight.
You're the only person who can fight your fight, but you got to realize you've been in the ring of life right now. Mm-hmm. Everything you've said, and if you've taken away, is she's getting knocked down with something, but she gets back up. And she said she wants to see it through. And I think for the first time in my life, knowing you as you're my sister, what you just said right there, the last 3 minutes, is probably the first time in my life that I can say she's going to do it. And I think I'm gonna cry. And I think if it doesn't happen, whatever that is, your determination, like you said, to see it through is your biggest asset in this life. I think I always say this about you, Ami, Priscilla, all you guys, Samina, even Jen, seeing the shit she's been through, that I don't worry about you guys. I think whatever comes your way, you guys can handle yourself with or without me. But you got us here to help you out. But you're going to see it through no matter what it is. And say it doesn't work. Guess what? You're going to pick your freaking feet back up and go again. But this time around in life, you have your family in your circle. Yeah. You're in your family business, and you're finally almost, you're not there yet, but you're almost really at peace with yourself. And that's the next step of, You've reached this barrier and you fell back, you've reached this barrier back, but you've never got behind that other door. And I think you're on that other door almost. And you just got to knock that bitch down. And it's all on you to go do it. And I think what I want the audience to take away from this as we close it out is, it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to tell your truth. And I want, hopefully a lot of you girls listen, that it's not easy being a woman. And it's not easy to have to wear sports bras, leggings, have tits, not have tits, look a certain way. And I'm here to tell you it's okay to look the way you want to look. And we shouldn't be judgmental. We shouldn't have to rely on a pill. We should all give our continued efforts and strive to lift weights and be the best version of ourselves every day, especially women. And that's why I wanted you to come on this platform, continue to grow up, because you have a voice. It's what's the word you said again? The sister that nobody knows. I hope that everyone takes away a handful of things of what she's been through, what I've taken away, and what I want the audience to know is her story is all about resilience, hard work, taking risk, and having the utmost faith that on the other side of whatever she's believing it's going to be there. And it is the definition of faith, because she drove back and forth from La Jolla to West Hollywood to make classes. She folded towels for free. She went to this job for free. So when people get mad at me for having high expectations, that's where I get it from. You motherfuckers, not my team. People out there that I've worked for in the industry, you guys can't even show up on time or look a certain way and have bags in your eyes and dress a certain way. And I operate the way I do because the story is like that. And people talk about hard work, but they really don't know what hard work is. People talk about, why are we so angry? Why do we up tempo and do the way we do, act the way we do? We are that way because of these stories that we're finally getting to tell our truth to you guys. And I want you guys to tap into all these obstacles and know that on the other side of these obstacles, if you can have the perseverance to push through them, which a lot of people don't, they quit. They just give up and don't give up. And it doesn't matter how old they are. Look at her. She was broke, had money, broke, had money, had a health issue, didn't have a health issue, had a heartbreak, didn't have a heartbreak, had a fucking life situation. What did she do? What was the ultimate story? She never gave up, and she had faith on the other side of it. So as we transition into year 5 in the Congo, you've been with us 3 years, right? 1, 2, 3, 4.
2020.
21 or 21? 2020. Shit, 5 years. Yes, yeah. 5 years.
Oh, dang. It's been 5 years.
Yeah, because you came during COVID. Yeah. Tripping. She came during COVID. 5 years going into year 5 coming up in December. I think with the supplements and how you talked about how things are coming together with boxing and networking, you're going to do it and believe in yourself. And I'm glad you're able to tell your truth to the world. Like, subscribe, comment, follow Halima. We'll do all that stuff.
Thank you for
If
having
you have
me.
any questions, comments, man, DM them, comment them, share it out. I think this is a great, tell your truth. She's got a great voice, a great story, and women don't be vulnerable. Halima, anything?
Yeah, I mean, you did an incredible job summing that up. Just the biggest thing is know that you are uniquely created and designed. And so my biggest issue in life has been competing with myself, but then finding these imaginary things to compete with because of what you posted it the other day too, of like what we see now in social media and what we're seeing around us, or like not knowing people's struggles. And so know that
Somebody's going through something.
Yeah, and you have your own individual thing that nobody else knows about or needs to even know about. And so you show up for yourself every single day. And the biggest thing that I can't stress enough is to not compare. Like, don't compare, don't judge other people. And, it's the golden rule that we've learned as children is if you don't have anything nice to say, you don't need to say it. And so just know that everybody's fighting their own battles and their own demons, and the best thing that you can do is to embrace who you are as an individual. I can't stress that enough. I know that you have your own journey, and as long as you believe in yourself, as long as you're willing to ask for help, because that's where my biggest struggle came from, was not asking for help until 2020 out of my whole life. Once I finally started asking for it, I started getting it. So ask and you shall receive. Find people who believe in you and surround yourself around great people.
Yeah, and I think she did amazing. Tapped into that. I got to know my sister a little bit more than I didn't know before.
You didn't know a lot of that.
Also, got to give a shout out to Priscilla because we're doing this on the day before her birthday. Tomorrow's your birthday, October 6th. So happy birthday,
Happy
Priscilla.
birthday, Priscilla.
We're in the Man Cave, episode 3, correct, Aaron? Episode 3 with Halima and our boy Dwight Manfredi here.
I was like, who's in the room?
Dwight Manfredi, Sly is in the back, Luna. We got Lobo. Shout out to LeBron. I don't know LeBron.
Hey.
This is not his paid answer. And since we started it that way,
I forgot that we did that.
We started it that way. We're going to end it that way.
That's why I was just talking away.
We're going to end it that way. And Aaron, you're more than welcome to take one of these. I don't know if you're allowed to. You're probably going to get home to your baby. But
Nap time's over.
I can take a half one.
okay, so I'll hit this one and I give you mine. So let me tap this real quick. Halima, good job.
Okay, thank you. Thank you again for having me.
Boom. Appreciate you.
Thank you guys for listening.
Of course.
Turn my headphones up. Louder.